viewers, and welcome back to Phil's Garage for episode 7 of this GS1000G rebuild. If you watched episode 6, you'll see that we made some good progress on the engine, put the new pistons in and managed to get the barrels down onto the block. So yeah, the engine's going together well. So in this episode we'll probably put the engine back into the frame and start working on the head and see how far we get with that, with the valves and cams and shims, etc. So let's get on with it. Right, we keep moving forward. So a mate of mine, John, came over and helped me lift the engine from the bench there down onto that milk crate and then slide across onto the jack. So the next step is to clean all of the engine mounts and then start bolting it back in, including the shaft drive at the back there. So let's get on and do that. Okay, so the engine's in. All of the engine mounts are tight. I've also reconnected the drive line here and reconnected that rubber boot around there. So I think the next thing to do will be to put some oil in this so that I don't forget to do it later. Okay, a bit more progress. So screwed a few things on, the foot peg and the rear brake lever. Put a new oil filter in, filled that up with oil. I've actually filled up the crankcase with oil. That'll need to be topped up once the engine starts, assuming it does. Foot peg on this side. And because this is a shaft drive, there's a little reservoir of primary gear oil in here. I'll change the oil in the back as well, but that needs a little bit of oil in there, so that's all done. So we're sort of run out of things mostly to do on this section, so I need to start working on the head and getting that ready to stick on there. So to help working on this head, I've made this headstand, not this sort of headstand, but this sort of headstand. So just a bit of a timber base and some threaded rod, just keeps it up off the deck. So working on the valves and getting valves out and stuff is a lot easier than having it sitting on the desk. Right, well, it's time to start working on this head. Previous owner said that they had done the head. I have checked the valves and they are sealing properly, but I want to take them out. I'm going to replace the valve stem seals, even though apparently they were changed. But just to be sure, I want to check the valves for see if they're within spec as well. So I figure while I've got the head off, this is a good time to do that. Some of the other things that you need to check with these things is the O-rings behind these little manifolds. Now I can tell by the bolts here that these have been changed, and I did take one off, and it looks like the O-rings have been changed because they look in good nick. So that's fine. I did have a valve spring compressor. I have this one here, which I modified for using on a motorbike, and I used that on my 750, I think, but it's a bit clumsy. So I ordered a better one on eBay, which never turned up, and eventually got a refund. So what I did is I just made one. So this is a lot easier, very sort of a copy of what I was trying to buy. So just some N10 bolts, a bit of water pipe cut out, and some 20 by 20 square tube welded, and that looks like it's going to work quite well. So I've got my box here with labelled with 1, 2, 3 and 4 inlet and exhaust. So as I take things out, I'll put them in there, and then we'll have a look and clean up the head and do some measurements. Replace the valve stem seals. I've got a new set of valve stem seals here, which is supposedly the Viton ones, which are good. I've got a little magnetic pickup thing here for getting the little collets out. So let's try my new tool and see how that works. So we hook that in there, put that bolt head onto the valve down the bottom there, and screw this in. So that's pushing the valve spring down. So that is cylinder 1 inlet. So let's see if we can get the, there's one of the little collets. So cylinder 1 inlet. So that seems to work. That was just sort of about an hour's worth of work, cutting and grinding and welding. And as I say, I ordered one on eBay, but the person stuffed me around. It was never arriving. It was arriving. Anyway, after a couple of weeks, I thought, you know what, I'll just make one, which is what I did. So get that off. Take the springs out, big one and the little one, put those in there, and now we can push the valve out. So there's our first inlet valve. So I'll go through and check those and do all 8 of them, measure the valves, replace the valve stem seals, and then we can move on. All right, so that's all the valves taken out of this head. I measured the stems, and they're all well within the service limit, so that's fine. I've measured the springs, the inner and outer springs, and they're within spec as well. I've done the wiggle test on the valves in the head, and you know, I mean, there's a bit of movement there, but I'm not building a race bike. This bike will probably maybe do 1,000 kilometers a year or something. So I'm sort of happy with that. So what I will do now is remove the valve stem seals and start replacing it. Give it a good clean, and then start replacing the valve stem seals with the new ones that I've got. Right, so I've used my new handy dandy valve stem seal puller to get the old ones out, and then fix the right fixture on the end of this to suit the size of the new ones, and they will pop in. So okay, well that was pretty easy, and just put the spring bases in, no, don't forget those, and then the new valve stem seals. So they're all in. I'm going to now flip it over and just give the valves a bit of a spin. As I say, I checked the sealing before by filling up the combustion chamber with petrol and then spraying compressed air in, and they all seem to be sealing well. So I'm not going to do any grinding, but I'll just do a quick spin just to double check, and then we'll start putting the valve springs back on. Okay, valve stem seals are on. All of the valve springs are back on with their collets. Valves in. So I put the spark plugs in and then turn it upside down, and what I will do is just fill up the combustion chamber with petrol and then spray some compressed air in the intake and exhaust, see if we've got any bubbles to see whether these valves are sealing. A bit more. A bit more. Okay. Okay, no bubbles in the inlet. No bubbles in the outlet. So that's good. So I'll go along and do these other three just to make sure it's all sealing. And then we can think about maybe putting this head, oh no, the next thing to do is to check the shim clearances. So we'll do that before we put the head on. Okay, so I've seen this method on another YouTube channel. So instead of putting the head back in the bike and doing all the cams, etc., and then checking the cam clearance, you actually put the cams in with the cam caps and measure it here before you put it on the bike. Obviously you have to take the cams back out, etc., but it's a much easier way of doing the valve clearance instead of you know, doing it fiddling around on the bike. So I'm going to try that method and see how it works. All right, so those the cams are back in on the bench. Caps are tightened down. So it's just a matter of rotating these cams manually and measuring the gap, which should be between 1 and 3 thou according to the manual. So let's do that. Okay, I have a confession to make. While doing my head job, I made a big mistake. Stuffed up. It's something that is fixable, but yeah, not good. So I will show you what I did wrong. Right, so a minute ago I told you I was going to try something new, which is doing the valve clearances on the bench before the head goes back on the bike. So basically you put the cams in, screw them down, rotate the cams manually and check the gaps. Which, yeah, is a good idea. The only problem is that if the head is on the bike and you've got the cam chain around the cams and the cams are in the right position, then as you rotate the engine, obviously the exhaust and inlet valves go up and down in the right order and the right sequence, so that if an exhaust valve is down, a inlet valve is up, and vice versa. The way I did it, there's a possibility that the exhaust valve could be down and the inlet valve comes down at the same time and they hit each other, which is what I did, which is a real bugger, because it looks like a couple of the valves hit each other and are now slightly bent. So that means all these valve springs, etc., need to come back out, and I need to check all the valves, and I think I'm going to reseat the valves anyway, just grind them again, because I wasn't 100% happy with some of the patterns on the valves anyway. I do have some spare valves from the other engine, so I'll probably use them rather than trying to straighten the valves that are bent. I think there's only three, 2 exhaust valves and 1 inlet valve. So that's a real bugger, because I was almost at the point where I was about to put the head back on, but I made that mistake. So yeah, that's a trap for young players. Good way to do it is, you know, to check the clearances, but you've got to be very careful about where the valves are as you're turning your cams around manually. So yeah, let's get on with that. Anyway, so as the quote goes, if you can't be a good example, at least be a horrible warning. So you've all been warned. Okay, so I have lapped all the valves now, including the 3 that I replaced from the spare motor. Quite happy with the lapped surfaces on all the valves. So now it's time to start putting this back together again. I'm still going to do the bench valve clearance, but I'm just going to do 1 cam at a time, so there's absolutely no chance that the other valves will be open on the opposite side. So let's get on with that, shall we? Okay, so valves are in, valve springs are in, and collets, etc. I have flipped this over and done the old petrol test in the combustion chamber with compressed air in the exhaust and inlet, and that's all good. There was certainly some leaking before on those 3 valves, but they're all good now. So that's good news. So there wasn't too much of a setback. So now I'm going to put the shim buckets in. I'm going to write down the shim sizes first of all, and then see what ones need changing. I've got a fair selection of the different sizes there, so hopefully we'll have enough to do the job. Because I've lapped the valves, that they might have changed a bit, and those 3 new valves will certainly be different. So let's do that. Okay, so I've done all the shims. I had to change a few. Tended on the sort of loose side, around the sort of 3 thou rather than the tighter side. So realistically, this head is ready to go back onto the engine. So that's the next step. Let's do it. Okay, time has come, I think, to open up this gasket set that I got from Cruise and Image and get out the head gasket and various bits, because we're getting pretty close to installing the head on the engine. So try not to cut anything here. Right. I'll get my scissors instead. There. Nicely packed once again. So we've got a few things. We've got this rubber rectangle shape that goes around where the cam chain is. We obviously have the head gasket itself, and the little O-rings that go into these corners here, which are over here. How can I get to them? So yeah, it's a good set, because you get just about everything, really. So there's all the valve stem seals. There's those little gaskets that I had problems with the barrels. There's your brass head gaskets, and then these are the little seals that go in the corner. So I think it's time to put that onto the head. Well, the barrel actually. Okay, got my gasket bits over here. So head gasket first. We'll feed the timing chain through, and the timing chain guide. That over the studs. So over the little locator there. Okay, so that's roughly in position. Next, the little O-ring that goes around the gap in the middle for the timing chain. Just using this cable to keep that in place. So that's sort of where that goes. And then these little corner O-rings go in each of these corners. Now, there's only 2 of these studs that have oil pumping up around them, but you get O-rings for all of these, so you might as well stick them on. So there we go, and that's the head gasket in place, ready for the head to be placed upon there. Okay, so I've got the head sitting over there. I've got a couple of little bits of timber sitting there so that the head doesn't go all of the way down, so I can then hook that timing chain up through the gap. And then once the timing chain's up through, then we'll drop it down. So let's give that a try. Okay, so that's now sitting on the bits of timber, so we should be able to hook this timing chain up through that hole. Okay, there it is. Get this out of the way. Hooks around everything you don't want it to hook around. So keep that in place. We'll just put this through for the moment, and then we'll get our knocky strap to hold that up. So we take those bits of wood out. Should settle down to where it's supposed to be. Okay. All right, well that's sat down onto the gasket. And in the right position. So, okay, head is technically on, so we can start putting the front cam chain guide in and then bolting the head down and torquing it up. Okay viewers, that's probably a good place to stop this video. We're around about the 25-minute mark. So yeah, we made some good progress, made some massive mistakes, but we managed to fix those and learn a lot. So the engine is in the bike, the head has been done, and the head's actually sitting on the engine now. So yeah, we're getting ever so close to trying to start this engine. So yeah, happy with the progress. Not happy I made that mistake, but anyway, you live and you learn. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And we'll see you in episode 8, I guess. So thanks for watching again, and see you next time. Bye.